Good evening and welcome to the last Kini News Bulletin of 2020. PKR President Anwar Ibrahim is Harapan's prime ministerial candidate, but this won't be the only factor to ensure the opposition's victory, according to Amanah Deputy President Salahuddin Ayub.
Amanah Deputy President Salahuddin Ayub believes that there is no dispute within Pakatan Harapan that PKR President Anwar Ibrahim is the prime ministerial candidate. However, he added that this won't be the sole factor in trying to convince voters to return the coalition to power in the 15th general election. He told Malaysia Kini that under Harapan's agreement, Anwar is the prime ministerial candidate, but that does not mean it is the only factor to ensure their victory. Salahuddin added that second-tier leaders in the opposition are also expected to play an important role, including the non-Harapan leaders. He said, "In Harapan, there are many leaders who can help. Our role is to complement Harapan's victory, and this includes leaders from Pejuang like Mukhriz and Shafie of Warisan." The opposition is setting its sights on the next general election after failing to regain power through the Dewan Rakyat following its ouster in late February. Budget 2021, which acted as a proxy confidence vote for Pakatan National's Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin, was narrowly passed in the Dewan Rakyat with 111 MPs voting in favour and 108 against. Salahuddin is among the main proponents of forming a grand coalition in the opposition, despite the icy relations between Anwar and Pejuang pro-tem chairperson Dr. Mahathir Mohamad.
PAS has responded to calls for the party to choose between Muafakat Nasional or Perikatan Nasional.
No party should ask PAS to choose whether they want to stay with Muafakat Nasional or not, said PAS Secretary General Taqiyuddin Hassan. In a statement today, he said this was as PAS is a key character in the formation of Muafakat and a policy to unite Muslims. He said, Muafakat does not prevent his party from joining any other coalition, just as it does not prevent UMNO from remaining with BN. And PAS is of the view that Muafakat is not the exclusive ownership of any party or group, and should instead be open to everyone in the country who love unity, harmony, and justice. His statement came amidst rumours claiming that PAS had withdrawn their cooperation with UMNO and support for the Muafakat Charter. There has also been tensions between PAS and UMNO. A major faction in UMNO is determined to take on Bersatu in the next general election, and is pressuring PAS to ditch the latter. Instead of an overt ultimatum, this UMNO faction, which includes UMNO Supreme Council leaders Tajuddin Abdul Rahman and Muhammad Puan Zarkashi, has framed it as a choice between Muafakat Nasional or Perikatan Nasional for PAS. Muafakat is an alliance established by UMNO and PAS, while PN is spearheaded by Bersatu. UMNO had refused to formally join PN, even though it has been part of the PN-led government since March. PAS, on the other hand, became a founding member of PN when the coalition was formally registered in August. Taqiyuddin's latest statement reaffirmed the many signals PAS has sent over recent months that it will stick with Bersatu and wants UMNO to do the same. In his statement, Taqiyuddin said that what was important is the fact that the UMNO-PAS alliance can be done, and it should cooperate with any quarters that have the same ambition in facing the 15th general election, with a clear understanding of avoiding clashes that will only benefit others.
Former Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has a message for Harapan in case they had plans to exclude him from an opposition coalition.
Former Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad claimed that Pakatan Harapan may not be able to secure Malay support in the next general election if it refuses to cooperate with him. He said, this is based on the 2018 general election, where his involvement in Harapan helped them win as he brought in Malay support to the coalition. In an interview with China Press, he said that excluding him from the opposition coalition would mean excluding Malay support, and it will lead to Harapan's loss. Harapan had won 89 seats in the 2013 general election. With the help of Bersatu, which Mahathir founded, they won a total of 113 parliamentary seats in the 2018 general election. Mahathir was made Prime Minister following their victory by Harapan and its Sabah-based ally Warisan. However, the government collapsed after 22 months following Bersatu's withdrawal from the coalition and a series of defections. Mahathir, who was opposed to Bersatu's move, was eventually expelled from the party and is now forming a new party called Parti Pejuang Tanah Air, or Pejuang. In the interview, Mahathir added that he wants to cooperate with Anwar, but the latter had rejected all his proposals. He noted that even when Anwar claimed to have secured majority support in September, which did not materialize, the Port Dickson MP had also made clear that he will exclude him. At present, there are 220 MPs in the 222-member Dewan Rakyat and 2 vacancies.
And now it's time to take a look at the country's latest COVID-19 situation.
The Health Ministry reported a record high of 2,525 new COVID-19 cases today, with nearly half of the cases concentrated in Selangor. This exceeds the previous record of 2,335 cases reported just 5 days ago on December 26. The total cases of COVID-19 in the country is now at 113,010. 13 imported cases were also recorded today. From the local cases, Selangor recorded the highest number of new infections with 1,205 cases. This was followed by Sabah with 299, Malacca with 239 cases, and Kuala Lumpur with 222. 8 new deaths were also reported, taking the total deaths from COVID-19 in the country to 471. 3 of the deaths were recorded in Selangor, 2 in Johor, and 1 each in Negeri Sembilan, Kedah, and Kelantan.
Health Ministry Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said efforts to curb the COVID-19 pandemic is far from over.
The war to curb the COVID-19 pandemic is not over yet, said Health Ministry Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah. He said, the efforts of the MOH in containing the COVID-19 transmission in the country would continue, and public health facilities have so far been able to take on the pandemic. He said this at the launch of a coffee book titled The Fight Against Uncertainty, Hospital Services Journey in Combating COVID-19.
Pada hadirin sekalian, perang kita masih belum tamat. Saya faham petugas kesihatan, terutama mereka yang di barisan hadapan, perlu berhadapan dengan pelbagai ancaman serta risiko jangkitan. Namun kita memerlukan ketahanan fizikal dan mental yang tinggi semasa berhadapan dengan musuh kita yang kita tidak nampak, dan juga kita perlu patuh pada SOP. Apa yang kita lihat sekarang ni, peperangan sudah makan masa hampir setahun, dan kita ada kelesuan dari segi mental dan juga fizikal.
Noor Hisham also thanked all MOH staff frontliners as well as media personnel for jointly combating COVID-19 for 1 year, and said that he hoped we could break the COVID-19 infection chain in the country with the cooperation of the people next year. He also reminded the public to comply with the standard operating procedures, such as observing physical distancing, wearing a face mask, washing hands frequently, and avoiding crowded places while they usher in the new year.
Coming up next, the World Health Organization marked a year since the COVID-19 outbreak began. Their chief has a message for us after the break. Welcome back. The head of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom, has urged countries on Wednesday to ensure that vaccines are made available to people at risk everywhere and not just those in rich nations.
The head of the World Health Organization, marking a year since the first cases of the novel coronavirus were reported by China, urged countries on Wednesday to ensure that vaccines are made available to people at risk everywhere, not just in rich nations.
To protect the world, we must ensure that all people at risk everywhere, not just in countries who can afford vaccines, are immunized.
Tedros also appealed for $4 billion to buy COVID-19 vaccines for distribution in lower and middle-income countries through the COVAX vaccine facility, and urged countries to combat conspiracy theories and attacks on science.
Do we ignore the lessons of 2020 and allow insular, partisan approaches, conspiracy theories and attacks on science to prevail, resulting in unnecessary sufferings to people's health and society at large? Or do we walk the last miles of this crisis together, helping each other along the way, from sharing vaccines fairly to offering accurate advice, compassion, and care to all who need as one global family. The choice is easy. There is light at the end of the tunnel.
The COVAX alliance, which aims to secure fair access to COVID-19 vaccines for poor countries, said on December 18th that it had agreements in place for nearly 2 billion doses, roughly doubling its supply, with the first deliveries due in early 2021. More than 81 million people have been reported to be infected by the novel coronavirus globally, and nearly 1,800,000 people have died, according to a Reuters tally.
The United Kingdom has approved the use of a COVID-19 vaccine developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University, paving the way for a serious ramping up of the country's immunization program.
The UK on Wednesday became the first country in the world to approve a coronavirus vaccine developed by Oxford University and AstraZeneca. The regulatory approval is a boost for AstraZeneca and Oxford, which have been accused of a lack of clarity about the results from late-stage trials. Britain had ordered 100 million doses of the vaccine, which is easier to store and distribute than several of its rivals. For many, the news couldn't come soon enough, as Britain battles a major winter surge of coronavirus infections. Case numbers have risen sharply in Britain in the last 2 weeks, driven in part by a more infectious variant of the virus that is up to 70% more transmissible than the original. It's pushed the government to introduce tougher lockdown measures, with millions more people placed under stay-at-home orders. The government, which reported another 981 deaths from the virus in the last 24 hours, said 3/4 of England's population would be in the top tier of restrictions from Thursday, covering 44.1 million people. In those areas, hospitality venues and non-essential shops are closed, and households cannot mix. Britain has suffered one of the highest death tolls in Europe and spent much of 2020 in varying levels of lockdown to prevent its hospitals from being overwhelmed. Britain's Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, said the country's hospitals were coming under very significant pressure, with the number of people battling the virus in wards or intensive care as high as it was during the first wave.
That's all the time we have for this evening and also for the year. For more stories, the place to be is KiniTV.com. Don't forget that we also post the latest headlines to our social media, so do check out our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and Instagram and follow us there to get the latest news. It's best to spend this new year at home with loved ones, but if you're heading out, don't forget your mask. From all of us here at Malaysia Kini and KiniTV, we wish you a happy new year. 2020 was a challenge for many of us. Here's to hoping that 2021 will be an amazing year for everybody. I'm Daniel Anthony, signing off for 2020. Stay safe, Malaysia, and good night.